please contact the Westfield State Foundation at 413-572-8646. Friday mornings is something different on 89.5 FM. It's JP's Talk About Town.
Community Radio.
89.5 WSKB.
Live from the campus of Westfield State University, this is 89.5 FM, WSKB, Westfield.
Good morning, and this is Owl Sports Weekly here on 89.5 FM, WSKB. Joe Braverman and Pete Cowles with you, and it's a lot warmer than it's been earlier in the week, but not to say that's an improvement.
Allegedly.
It's allegedly warmer. It's still cold out there, but spring is just around the corner, but you know, with the really cold temperatures, that's not going to stop the spring season from getting underway, and that's exactly what happened this past week with women's lacrosse. So let's jump right into it. They had two games earlier this week, one on Tuesday, one on Thursday, just last night. Tuesday, they beat Mount Holyoke right here at Alumni Field, 13-9. Westfield coming up. It was pretty back and forth, I'd say. Westfield had most of the control. But Mount Holyoke was one of those games where they weren't going away. They did force, Mount Holyoke had 24 turnovers compared to Westfield's 17. The draw controls were something really interesting to me. Mount Holyoke had the advantage 15-9, and that was one of the things going into the year that I really thought was going to be a big factor for Westfield State, is that if they could win the draw controls, that'd be indicative of how they would play and the kind of consistency that they had. So after it was 5-3 at halftime, and really Mount Holyoke was just they had an answer for everything. And the biggest thing I found was that it was really all about consistency. Westfield, they were still trying to find their groove, and obviously Maria Woodall helped out with the reigning MASCAC Player of the Year, making 13 saves on 22 shots. But the biggest thing is that Westfield needed a little bit of consistency in that game. Obviously, Mount Holyoke was not going to go away quietly, and Westfield did get it eventually to a 5-goal advantage at most, with a 9-4 lead. But in that game, really, it was just all about having consistent play, and it's a game all about momentum, because if Westfield, they weren't winning as many draw controls consecutively, and that eventually translated to a little bit of miscommunication on defense, and it kind of got them on their heels. And Mount Holyoke was able to score. Abby Baldwin, who put up a phenomenal game, 5 of the 9 goals for Mount Holyoke on 12 shots. But Westfield, they had their answer. They had Sid Lambert put up 5 goals of her own. Alexa Tinelli put in 2. Kelly Gearin put in 2. So they were able to escape that win. I'm going to use the word escape for that one. But the biggest thing coming out of that game was consistency and continuing to rattle off and not fall behind if you lose a draw control or you give up 1 goal or anything like that. But they were able to right the ship last night at Alumni Field, beating Western New England 17-7. They had a 9-3 halftime advantage, and some other numbers from that game. Turnovers were the big key. Western New England had 31 as compared to Westfield's 21. Again, Westfield lost the draw control battle 15-11, but Westfield was able to, with those turnovers, really take advantage and get 34 shots on net compared to the Golden Bears 20. So again, the consistency, it was a little bit uneasy in the beginning part of that first half, but they really found it after rattling off a couple goals from Paris, from Barrett, from Lambert, from Donahoe. So I think that first half, the end of the first half, was absolutely huge, because it was 3-3 at one point, and then all of a sudden Westfield just goes goal after goal after goal after goal. And then that second half, they did it once again, getting Lambert, Barkis, twice from Donahoe, Tinelli, Navoni, and Lambert all got them consecutively. Yeah, basically Westfield, they went on, I gotta get the number, basically it was tied 3-3, and then they went on a 14-4 goal advantage, which was absolutely huge. And Lambert again had another great game that puts her at 4 goals now, with a total of 9 on the year already, and she also had 2 assists in that game. Tinelli also had a nice scoring night. She put in 3. Maddie Barkis had her best game so far with 2. Donahoe put in a hat trick with 3 on 4 shots. So this is going to be a real offensive team, I believe, and defense is not going to be their strongest output. But if you look at where it is right now, Lambert's got 5. Lambert's got 9 goals. Tinelli has 5 goals. Barkis, Donahoe, Galena, Gearin, Navoni, they've all got multiple scoring outputs. And Haley Matei has actually contributed with 4 assists as well. But as a team, I think, again, they're going to rely on offense the way they've done the past couple of years where they've won the MassCat championship back-to-back years. I mean, they're scoring 15 goals a game. They're putting up 31 and a half shots a game. With 50 of those, they have 63 shots in total. 50 of them are shots on goal. So I think it's really all going to come down to offense. They only get 10 draw controls per game. They already have 38 turnovers compared to 21 costs. So, again, I think this is a team where if you shut them down offensively and you take away the attack zone, you're going to beat them. Because this is a team that is driven on offense. And if you take that away, if you can get a couple goals, again, I mentioned momentum and consistency. That's the overall theme. Is if you can get a couple goals on them, you're going to get Westfield on their heels, and they're going to be scrambling to really find their positions. And, you know, there have been teams in the past for women's lacrosse where they have struggled on defense, but they've still won the MassCat championship. Again, they've done it 2 years in a row. So it's going to be interesting to see what exactly happens with this team if they continue to really build on offense, or if they're going to improve on defense. You know, they still have to find their identity. Again, we're only talking 2 games into the year, so it's early to really put something on this team for right now. But they are going to be traveling to Florida for spring break. Their first game is going to be Monday the 11th versus Skidmore at Dever Park in Englewood, Florida. Their next action here at Alumni is going to be Wednesday the 20th versus Connecticut College, a 6 o'clock start. And we'll have that for you on WestfieldStateOwls.com. We'll take a break, and then we're going to talk about some baseball. This is Owl Sports Weekly.
Tonight's the night. It's gonna
Funding support for the community programming of WSKB is provided by the Greater Westfield Chamber of Commerce, the voice of business for the Greater Westfield communities. Informing, educating, advocating, the Chamber provides opportunities for members to make meaningful connections on local, regional, and state levels. For more information on the Chamber's many events, workshops, and programs, as well as the benefits of membership, visit westfieldbiz.org. The Chamber focuses on the most important economy, yours. We thank the generosity of our underwriters. For more information, please contact the Westfield State Foundation at 413-572-8646. Friday mornings is something different on 89.5 FM. It's JP's Talk About Town.
Community Radio.
89.5 WSKB. Live from the campus of Westfield State University, this is 89.5 FM, WSKB, Westfield.
And we are back with Owl Sports Weekly. Let's talk a little bit about baseball, as they've only had one game, though, to get started on the spring season. But it was a 6-5 victory against Western New England. That was at Trinity College this past Sunday, March 3rd. So, really, Westfield had an overall pretty good game. They only gave up runs in the third and fifth inning. Starter John Gigetskis didn't have a lengthy outing, but again, this was a game where really everyone's getting their feet under them. Gigetskis went 2 innings, 2 hits, no runs, 2 walks, and 3 strikeouts. The damage was off the arm of Vincenzo Camara and Ryan Murphy. Camara went 2 innings, giving up 2 hits, 3 earned runs, 2 walks, and a strikeout. And then Ryan Murphy went an inning and went a third of an inning, giving up 2 hits, 2 runs, 2 earned runs, I should say, and 2 walks. Everyone else was doing some shutout pitching. Bogley, who picked up the win, went an inning and 2/3, only gave up 1 hit. Scott Strachan went an inning and a third. Patrick Jordan went 2/3 of an inning, and then the save was by Troy Saulnier. But really, Westfield made their comeback, down 5-2 at one point, and then they came back in the 7th inning. Bases loaded walk by Gibb, another bases loaded walk by Benavides, and then Cruz was able to get a single for 2 RBIs to give the Owls the lead as Graveline and Dooley came in to score and make it 6-5, and that's where it was. On the other side, Western New England, Bob Hamill went the distance, and it was all about fatigue, as I bet you if he probably stayed in, he probably wouldn't have given up. He probably still would have had the win. He went 6 innings, 6 hits, 2 runs, a walk, and 3 strikeouts. And then Paul Wetmore, who was credited with the loss, went a third of an inning. Only gave up 1 hit, but 4 walks for those 4 earned runs. So Owls were able to make their comeback in the 7th inning, come up with a big victory, 6-5 once again. Owls were able to get 4 doubles from that game, 2 stolen bases. And I'm looking right now, Anthony Crowley, he was the big one to really watch out for. He only got 3 at-bats. He drew 2 walks, but he did get 2 hits and an RBI. So, again, this was a Westfield team that was slated to to repeat as MASCAC champion in the preseason poll by MASCAC coaches.
They're still a pretty stacked team, right?
Oh, absolutely. In that lineup, you got Colin Dunn, Crowley, Dooley, Ferrari, Clancy, who he didn't start, but he was able to pinch hit. Tyler Beach. They're a pretty stacked team, but again, they're just getting their feet under them. They've only had 1 game so far, and then they'll travel on to Florida for spring break.
And I believe it was, as they say in Spanish, hace frío.
Yes.
When that game was played.
Well, Sunday was pretty warm. It's that last Sunday when they had their game.
Not that warm.
I mean, 40 degrees compared to 20, which we had for lacrosse, was much better.
Still not quite baseball weather.
Right. But I mean
50 plus is baseball weather.
Yeah,
It was warmer,
Okay.
but not baseball weather.
Okay, I'll take that. But yeah, again, they're still getting their feet under them, and Westfield as a team, it's hard to gauge a team after only one game. But the way they're looking right now, they've got that 289 batting average, a 386 on base, 395 slugging. So really, I mean, Western New England, that's a team that they always get the upper hand on early on in the year. So, it was just another game. I mean, they did play it at Hartford, and again, Westfield, sometimes they go back and forth. Obviously, Western New England beat them 2 times last season, and they didn't play until April, so they got to play a month early than usual. But again, Westfield, the big thing is obviously their offense. It might be a little bit cold to start the year, but depending on how the spring break goes, if they can get their feet wet, if they can start warming up a little bit. I mean, they struck out 6 times, but they did draw 6 walks. They hit into 2 double plays. So I think, again, it's all about really figuring out what works best. Obviously, you got to toggle the lineups a couple times. Not everyone's going to get the same amount of reps. I mean,
Yep.
Crowley only got 3 at-bats. Dooley got 4. Beach got 4. And Clancy, who that's going to be a real interesting one because you got Clancy and Benavides. Obviously, we saw last year the fact that they were able to split time at the catcher position worked out really well. I wonder if that will remain the same because you also got Jake Gibb as well, the junior playing catcher. And then Nick Martin, he's a utility guy who can also play the catcher position. It's going to be real interesting to see what that catcher position is going to look like, if it's going to be a catcher by committee or if one player is going to get the advantage over another. So, again, I mean, Michael Cruz, we mentioned the 2 RBIs he had, Jake Gibb, who had the 2 RBIs. That one, it's going to be interesting to see who steps up because we know Anthony Crowley, he's going to provide the offense, but it's who's going to be that supporting cast with them right now. Who's going to be the one to drive it up? Because you got again, I mentioned the names again: Gibb, Beach, Dooley. Jamie Butler is going to get some time at DH. Dunn, Clancy, Ferrari. And remember, this is a team built on seniors. Most of their lineup are all about seniors, so you got to think those guys are going to really step up in their final year. I expect maybe Clancy, he's just coming off hockey season again. He's getting his feet wet. Crowley, he might not get those expectations that he had last year with his .752 slugging percentage and his 12 home runs for 55 RBI. So, again, Westfield, they are going to head to Florida, much like most of our teams here. They're going to go to Florida for spring break. Their first game is going to be versus Rhode Island College tomorrow at Lake Myrtle Sports Park Field, number 8. There are a couple fields there at Lake Myrtle in Auburndale, Florida. They have a 9:45 first pitch. You can get the live stats at westfieldstateowls.com. We'll take another break, and we'll talk about some softball as we begin our introduction to the spring season. This is Owl Sports Weekly.
Support for the community programming of WSKB is provided by Bay State Dental. Comprehensive dentistry at 14 convenient locations in Springfield, Chicopee, Longmeadow, West Springfield, Belchertown, East Longmeadow, Ludlow, Northampton, Greenfield, and Wilbraham, as well as 29 Broad Street in Westfield. Bay State Dental makes it a priority to help you achieve and maintain the healthy smile you deserve. On the web at baystatedental.com.
We thank the generosity of our underwriters. For more information, please contact the Westfield State Foundation at 413-572-8646.
Wednesday mornings from 6 till 8, it's Tina Gorman with Wake Up Wednesday.
Community Radio.
89.5 WSKB. Live from the campus of Westfield State University, this is 89.5 FM, WSKB, Westfield.
And we are back for Owl Sports Weekly. We'll talk about softball now, and there's really not much to talk about since they have not started yet. They don't have any games like lacrosse or baseball, so they're the smart team.
Are they just going to spring break and
they're going to go right into Florida, to spring break. But I'm saying they're the smart spring team around here, not playing in the freezing cold. They're avoiding that, and they're going to wait until the temperature rises, which hopefully will be their first game against Sage College on the 20th. So do they go down for spring training, or they do that up here? They are down for spring training. They've got a couple games. They've got a couple double headers. They've got two games at once. Their first game is going to be Sunday the 10th versus the Coast Guard at the Hancock Regional Complex. And then right after that at 2:15, they're going to battle Scranton on Field 4. That'll be at Claremont, Florida.
Split squad, maybe?
I would say so.
Yeah, it sounds like it.
Yeah. So, again, no games yet, so we can only go on what the preseason polls and what the preseason rankings are looking like. And via the MASCAC, Framingham State, who is seeking a three-peat, is entering as the softball favorite. Out of a possible 8 first-place votes, the Rams earned 5 of them to secure 47. The Rams last year went 10-4 in conference play. Were the number 2 seed in the tournament. So it sounds like they have a lot of people returning. Yeah, they've got their leading all conference players, Grace Cahy, the slugger who batted .368 with 3 home runs and 33 RBIs, and was also strong in the circle as a pitcher, picking up 6 wins. Right behind them was the 2018 MASCAC regular season champion Worcester State at number 2. Lancers got 1 first place vote. In third place is actually a tie. You got Westfield right there with Bridgewater State. Then it's Salem State, Fitchburg State, MCLA, and Bridgewater State. So, again, we can only go on previews and what's going to go down via the rankings. But I'm expecting, again, it's gonna be really interesting to see what the rotation is going to look like, because Westfield, they only pitched about 2 players pretty much all year, but they did get all the way to the MASCAC championship and were the runner-ups, going 10-5 in the regular season. Isn't it interesting how a softball pitcher pitching underhand at higher speeds or equivalent speeds to baseball, they can just, like a rubber arm, man. They just go and go and go. It's still amazing to me how they can get that velocity with, that rotation so much different. I watched that in the Babe Ruth World Series, even with like 10, 12-year-olds and stuff like that. They 2 pitchers, that's all they need for an entire tournament. Yeah, it's amazing. It's amazing. Yeah, it's amazing to see, obviously it's different because overhand you throw out your arm a little bit more, and you underhand you save your shoulder when you're going underhanded, but it's still incredible to see. And obviously Arredondo and Woodworth are going to be those 2 players to watch out for here for Westfield, as they're going to be the real those are basically going to be the 2 pitchers to watch for here at Westfield State. But again, they made it all the way to the MASCAC championship last year as a 3 seed. So it's going to be it's going to be real fascinating to see, because we know the pitching is there, but the question is, where's the hitting going to come from? That's going to be the biggest thing for Westfield, is who's going to provide that offense. Because obviously they're going to be, not every pitch outing, not every outing is going to be the best, but you've got Caitlin Hughes at catcher, who had that 282 average. It's going to be real fascinating to see who else is going to step up. I mean, you've got Carly Mostello, who's going to come back, leading the Owls in average last year at 368. Obviously, you lose a big bat in Akakaitis, Maddie Akakaitis, who graduated, and you also lose Angelica Banning at catcher with a 319 average. But again, who's going to be that power? I'm looking at, because obviously Akakaitis was there with that 364 average, 25 RBIs, 2 homers, 39 hits in total. She drew 10 walks. So you got to be able to replace that, what Akakaitis can do at third base. That's, I mean, a 412 on base percentage, 617 slugging percentage. I mean, she provided that power, and it's going to be real interesting to see who else is going to, who's going to replace it.
Who's stepping up?
Exactly. Who's going to step up? Because in any lineup, when you talk about baseball or softball, you need to have that power threat. You know, when you have that lineup, you need it in the 3 or the 4 position to really clean up and possibly do the damage. But who is going to be it? Obviously, Castellano is there as a freshman, but you lose Akakaitis, you lose Banning, but you do have Caitlin Hughes, you do have Britt Totora, you do have Caitlin Profit. You have a lot of players who could take on that role, and it's going to be. I'm interested to see who's going to be that player. Who's going to be the player to step up and take that place. So again, no games for softball just yet, but they are going down to Florida. They've got a doubleheader in Claremont, first against the Coast Guard and then against Scranton. You can get live stats once again at WestfieldStateOwls.com. We'll take one last break. Then we'll preview the rest of the spring season, and then do a little bit of a recap for all our winter teams who just finished up. This is Owl Sports Weekly.
Community programming of WSKB is provided by the Barnes & Noble College Bookstore in the Ely Campus Center, offering Westfield State t-shirts, sweatshirts, and gift merchandise, all of your academic needs, and offering textbook materials in new, used, ebook, and rental formats. Available at the bookstore on campus or online at westfieldstate.bncollege.com. Support for community radio on WSKB is provided by Betts Plumbing and Heating Supply Company, an independent, family-owned wholesaler serving Westfield for over 50 years, specializing in plumbing, heating, and industrial piping supplies. On the web at bettsplumbing.com or at 14 Coleman Avenue in Westfield.
We thank the generosity of our underwriters. For more information, please contact the Westfield State Foundation at 413-572-8646. Wednesday mornings start off right from 6 to 8 a.m. with Tina Gorman and Wake Up Wednesday.
Community Radio.
89.5 WSKB. Live from the campus of Westfield State University, this is 89.5 FM, WSKB, Westfield.
And we are back for Alva Sports Weekly. We're going to wrap up the show here talking about the last couple of teams who are going to be continuing the spring season, and it's track and field. And we'll start on the women's side because both the men's and women's right now are in the weekend for NCAAs. So the action is going to be a little bit limited, and then they'll be back on action. Both the men's and the women's are going to be back in action after the spring break. 23rd, they have a matchup to be determined, and then on March 30th, they have the Corsair Classic at UMass Dartmouth. But until then, 3 Westfield State track and field athletes were designated as all-region honorees by the U.S. Track and Field and Cross Country Coaches Association this past Monday. Senior sprinter and hurdler Lexi Pop, thrower Lauren Gilderdale, and multi-event athlete William Canty were recognized. The top 5 individuals in each event and the top 3 relay teams in each region were recognized. So Canty was recognized in the heptathlon. I think that's
8?
Heptathlon. I'm going to say that's 8. No, that'd be
I think it's either 8 or 10.
Yeah, some big number like that. We'll do some research while we're going through it.
Yeah, you talk.
Gilderdale was in the shot put, and Lexi Pop was in the 400 meter. Pop is the 3rd seed in the women's 400 meters in the upcoming NCAA D3 championships at the Reggie Lewis Center in Boston on Friday and Saturday. Also, it's 7.
7, yeah.
So 7 is the heptathlon for William Canty. So good for him. So again, Canty, Pop, Gilderdale, all recognized among the region. So congratulations to them. And Lexi Pop, as we mentioned, she'll be competing in the NCAA D3s. As we just mentioned, she'll compete in a preliminary event today at 5:40, and she'll hope to qualify for the finals, which would be on Saturday, as Pop continues to lower her own school record in the 400. She'll go into the championship with a seed time of 56.09. So keep in mind, 3 Westfield members were among all region honors, and a total of 1,590 men and women were recognized nationwide. So Westfield was able to put 3 on that list. So congratulations to, again, Lexi Pop, Lauren Gilderdale, and William Canty. So again, track and field, there'll be the NCAA D3s that are going on right now, and then they'll be off for a couple of weeks until after the spring break, and then they'll get going with a matchup to be determined and the Corsair Classic. And before we wrap up the show, we're going to do a little bit of a summary on the winter season because there were a couple awards given out, and of course the women's team got to play in the NCAA tournament.
How'd they do?
They did not advance, I'll tell you.
How bad was it? Because I know they face a tough time when that system goes into the NCAA.
This was actually the closest game that they've had in their runs in the NCAA tournament. They lost to Mount St. Mary's 85-80
that was a good
in
game,
the opening round, as Westfield was actually up by as much as 12 in the first half, but Mount St. Mary was able to rally from that first half deficit, and they were up. Owls were up 46-34 late in the second, but again, the Knights, they're a really good team. They were a really good team. They slowly climbed back and they shoot it from the floor. They were heating up, and then the Owls, again, the offense was a little bit cooling down. The defense was able to recognize how Westfield State was able to play. And this is actually, Westfield was able to put a little bit of history in this game, as Westfield finished with an NCAA record 18 made three-pointers on 61 attempts. And despite all that, they still were not able to come up with the victory. But that's an incredible number to me. If you're doing the math, 18 three-pointers, that's about, trying to do it, 54 points out of your 80. That's more than half. So, again, the three-point shot was really... that's their team. That's Westfield's team. Is if they don't shoot the three well, they're not going to win. But they did shoot the three, not particularly well, but they just shot it a lot, and they knocked a lot of them in. But they just weren't able to muster up a full 40 minutes of action, and Mount St. Mary's was able to really capitalize. Again, Westfield only shot 30.6% from the field compared to Mount St. Mary's 49. Points in the paint, or I should say points off turnovers, again, those were strong by Westfield, 23-6. Westfield was able to force 24 turnovers. But, again, the second chance points and the rebounds were really what doomed Westfield State. Second chance points were 23 for Mount St. Mary's, 13 for Westfield, and then rebounds was 60-38 in favor of the Knights. So, again, that wraps up the Westfield basketball season, as Lucy Barrett finished the MASCAC Player of the Year, finished with 21 points in that game. Melissa Gray added on 17. Kiera McCarthy ends her career with a 12-point outing. And then Allison Hester, also the senior, 6 points, 5 rebounds, and 5 steals to wrap up her career. But again, we're talking about a team that's won 4 consecutive MASCAC championships, and I no doubt they've got the mentality to make it 5 in a row for the upcoming year. So, again, this might be...
They're just one piece away from taking the NCAA by storm.
Exactly.
They really are.
And it's
because they got the system down now.
Yeah, they have the system, but the question is, are teams going to be able to recognize it and really plan in advance, or is it just going to be too much Westfield for them to overcome? Because over the past couple of years, the question for Westfield has become who's that offensive output, and in past years it was Jill Valley. Then when Valley graduated, it turned out to be Barrett, and now Barrett graduate. All signs are going to point to Melissa Gray, but the question is who else is going to be there to really step up, as we've been mentioning.
You need the more than one.
Exactly. You need more than one, and obviously Melissa Gray is going to be that first one, but who is it going to be in that second one? Is it going to be Rennick, who's spent a lot of time with the starters? Is it going to be Aiken? Is it going to be Slaughter? It's going to be really interesting to see who's going to step up. But again, that's months away until we really figure it out. And then one last note before we sign off. Hockey was able to pick up some honors despite losing in the semifinals to Salem State. By the way, we want to congratulate Plymouth State for winning the MASCAC championship last weekend. But there is some positive signs, as Jake Ratcliffe, the freshman forward from New Zealand, was named the MASCAC Ice Hockey Rookie of the Year. Of course, he had a tremendous year, if you remember. The top scoring freshman in conference play, with a total of 9 goals, 7 assists for 16 points in 18 conference games, and he was the overall leading scorer for the Owls with 12 goals and 10 assists for 22 points. And not only that, but head coach Bob Mealy Coach of the Year for the MASCAC, as he was able to lead Westfield to the number 2 seed, including a couple of very impressive wins over eventual champion Plymouth State. And we also have to give a shout out to Thierry Messervier, who was named to the league's all-conference second team as a goalkeeper. He had a phenomenal year, and he was able to make the all-conference second team. So again, Ratcliffe Rookie of the Year, Mealy Coach of the Year, and Messervier all-conference second team goaltender. So I mean that's looking pretty good for the future of the hockey team. You got the freshman Ratcliffe, you got the junior Messervier, and then of course Bob Mealy winning Coach of the Year. So it's gonna be. I think this team, you can't peg them right now as being the MASCAC champions, but it's looking pretty good with the faces they're returning with Ratcliffe and Messervier. So that'll wrap it up here for Owl Sports Weekly. We're going to be off next week. Obviously, I'll be a part of spring break.
Spring break, yeah.
Yes, it'll be spring break. But then we'll be back 2 weeks from then. That'll be March 22nd. And hopefully we'll have a lot more action with softball, with baseball, with lacrosse. It's gonna be a real fun spring. We're hoping for that. But for now, Pete Cowles and Joe Braverman signing off. You've been listening to Owl Sports Weekly here on 89.5 FM WSKB.